Hello and welcome to the September 2024 Saturday Sampler Block of the Month for Wagon Quilt Company. I'm Natalie Smith and I'm so happy you're here. We are getting ready to do our final block of the Saturday Sampler. After this is just finishing instructions. And so this is the Secret Garden block. There are 3 different flowers in this block and each of the flowers has just a little trick that I'll teach you this month. Most of it is routine, simple piecing or foundation paper piecing or applique that we've already done. And so I just have a few little tweaks that I want to teach you about and to just give you a little heads up on so that you can finish this block in no time. And then next month we'll just get on to our finishing instructions. It's so exciting that it's getting so close. I hope that you really enjoy making these blocks with me this month, and if you could like and subscribe, we would really appreciate it. Thanks. For our first block, we are going to be doing some flying geese, and they will just be pieced like normal. And then on the very bottom flying geese, it's a little bit different, and so I'm going to show you a little bit about that. So on our stem fabric, it's either this or there is another little print that we're using, and it's this print. So whichever way that you have. So for the stem piece, I've already pre-ironed this, and so I'll just show you. You press it in half, and I really pressed it nicely, and then you take the sides and you press them to the middle so that you've got this, and then you'll press one side so that it is on top of the other side, just like this. So we're just basically making a really enclosed, no raw edges stem. And if you would prefer to do raw edge applique, that's totally okay. Any of these stem pieces, except for the pieced one for the foxglove block, they can just be a 1/4 inch or however big you want them to be. But they are about a 1/4 inch wide for this first block. And it's a little bit bigger for the third, for the third type of block that we're making. So this is the first one, the hemlock block. And we're just making this little thing. And then you can see that this is about a 1/4 inch wide, and if you're doing raw edge applique, you can just make some strips that are a 1/4 inch wide. You don't really need to do much more than that. Because I am appliquing mine probably on the machine, actually, then I will just do it like this. And I'm not going to top stitch. Often people will top stitch, but I'm going to do that later. So I'm not going to worry about it right now. So then you'll take this A piece and you'll fold it in half just to find the center. So I'm not sure if you can see that, but I'll just center it on this line right here and you'll know that that's where that is. And then we'll take this piece that's prepared like this. And if you're doing raw edge applique, I would still do this little tip. So I'm just going to baste it right here. And then I'm also going to baste it down here. And I'm going to do it in the seam allowance so it won't ever show, even if you're doing raw edge applique. Sometimes the needle will leave little holes, but I will baste that and I'll come back and show what that looks like. All right, now you can see I've got this cute little thing, and I made sure that on the back, the crease was right in the middle of my little piece here. And now I'm going to just go ahead and make a flying geese, just like the normal way, pretending that this is just part of this A piece. So I'll go ahead and just come back and show every step that I've done. Okay, you can see that I finished my flying geese. It is right over this stem, and they will just naturally kind of shift just a little bit if you're not super precise. This is good enough for me. I'm not going to worry about it. It is still basted on the bottom, so I'm just going to keep that in until the next step after this one. But I will attach these to here and get that going, and then and then we'll put this part on, and then you'll see what happens next. Okay, now you can see that that bottom part of the, it's basically a sawtooth star, but it's the hemlock block. The bottom part is finished. Now I've taken out my basting stitch, and I will just flip that up out of the way and put this where it's going to go. And then I'll put this right sides together and then go ahead and go sew right there, and also that part together. And that is how you make that block. So you can see that this is still floating free, but this part of the block, you'll go ahead and that's how it will finish for now. What I will do next is I will take this and just pinch it again so that I can mark the center, and I'll just lay this down and sort of just pin it in place. I'll pin it in place in a minute. And then this is the point at which I will either applique it or machine applique it, whatever I'm going to do to put this stem down. I will do that now and then put the whole thing together, and I'll just trim it off even with this block. And then that's the little trick for that part. I did forget to tell one thing that I like to do when I am making it's like a non-bias strip because we're cutting it on the straight, so it's not a bias strip, but it is a non-bias strip, is I like to just offset, I hope you can see that, I just offset the back part of the seam, or of the fold, so that the top part will always look pretty. Like that back part cannot come through if it's offset like that just a little bit. So that's another little tip. Next, we have our foxglove blocks, and most of it is pretty straightforward. It's foundation paper piecing. I will say the order in which you sew the sections is pretty important. I've numbered them so that most of the time they will nest together as you're sewing them, and so that is actually hopefully very helpful for you. I know that it is for me. So on this one, you can see that this C1 is this background piece right here, and the C2 is this piece right here. And what I like to do is I will put them, and I will just hold them in my hand the way that they're going to go. I've already pressed this side, so I'll kind of put that in place, but I may have to rearrange that in a minute because you'll see. So then I'll flip them. And this is actually the right side. I've already put it in place that way, but this one I will put right side and then flip so that the right sides are together. But that way my C1 piece is always touching the foundation paper, and then the C2 piece is on top. And that will make those seams go the correct way for this block. And the reason why this block is C2, even though it's the tinier piece, is so that it will nest when you get to this piece, the stem will go out towards the backgrounds. You can kind of see that the sides are going to the background. And so they will nest when you put them together. So just a tiny little tip about starting off with the C1 or A1 or B1, whatever number you're on. And then they will go down in order A, B, C, D, E, F. And you'll see that as well. So I hope that that's helpful too. Next, we're going to work with our applique block. You can see I've pieced with those kind of pinky purples in these parts, and then the dark purples, and then the blacks where I've indicated in the pattern. And then we'll turn it so that it's on point, because that we want these points to be in line. And what I like to do on this part of things is just kind of line it up on a mat with a line. And so I'll line that up really nicely. You can see that I've pressed these open. That's partly just so that they will lie flatter. And then these ones are nested, so they're going opposite directions. So for this applique, I want to get as much of the black as possible. So I am going to line up so that I have a 1/4 inch on each side, and so that there's a 1/4 inch up at the top. And so when I do this applique, I'm going to do this. I like the starch method. If you like a raw edge applique, then I would do the same thing. I would just line up my my heat bond or steam-a-seam 2, whatever you're using. I would just line it so that it's about a 1/4 inch away up there, so that you get more of the black in your block. You can see that we're going to get rid of quite a bit, but I just wanted to have room to play, and so that's why that's like that. So once we do that, then another good trick for doing these curvy pieces is to use a needle and thread and just make a basting stitch around, just in that about 1/8 of an inch away from the template. And then when you pull it tight, if you trim about a 1/4 inch away, which you do before you starch it anyway, then if you pull that part tight, then it will naturally kind of just gather really evenly. It's more even than you can do, especially with these seams, but on your own. And so that's just another little trick that I like to do with round pieces. Okay, that's it for this month. I hope you had a really good time sewing and that you liked making your secret garden. See you next month.